Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you are all well on this fantastic Friday. That's it. The week is now, well, not now, nearly over. Well, unless you call Sunday the end of the week. Depends how you run your days. Technically, I think they said Sunday is like the first day of the week. So it's Sunday to it's Friday. So we get on with the meat and potatoes, shall we? Because we're talking about Othram Labs. Because the bone of contention for many people in the Idaho 4 case is this DNA situation. There's something that we can't quite get a head around, and it seems to be something that the courts and the people within it don't seem to be able to get their head around either. Now, it is my thoughts that the information that they obtained to, I don't know, get to Brian Coburg was potentially done illegally. Now, this is where you have a moral obligation, I suppose. Do you consider this the two things? And that is, look, if you want true justice, someone said it in comments, and they said, if you want true justice, then you want the system to work properly. You want the things to be done properly. Because as soon as you start doing things that you shouldn't do, it's like being given an inch and taking a mile, isn't it? It's like with children. If you say you can eat a few sweets, but you leave a tub of sweets in front of them, then they're going to eat the whole fucking tub. So this is about doing things right, doing things proper, and making sure that everybody receives the same service, if you like. If you're a criminal, if you're a would-be criminal, if you're not actually a criminal, but you've been accused, the system works in a specific way so that shortcuts are not taken, mistakes can happen, and guilty people can walk. Like in the Brian Koberger situation, as equal as we can turn around and say, I just don't see it. The evidence that I've seen and been privy to as a member of the public, which is minimal, I have not yet seen enough to convict him. But equally, my equal concern is that law enforcement took shortcuts. They were put under pressure by the University of Idaho to get the job done. They had an influx of a new, batch of students due to come in. You had students who were scared. They were leaving the area, not returning because they were scared of what was going on. It was uncertain times. And when you factor in the fact that you've got the acquisition of Phoenix University in the background as well, $180 million deal, a lot was riding on this. They didn't want this to be, dragged out. And it's proven by the fact they knocked the house down as well. The house was knocked down for one reason, and that was for this to be forgotten about. Like they were saying, we're going to knock down the house, get rid of it. It reminds everyone of what happened. We're going to put a memorial garden. I've subsequently heard, and I'm sure most of you have, the garden isn't even going to be where that house was. They're just going to put more housing there. So the actual remembrance garden is going to be put on, closer to the university itself. But anyway, that's by the by. Point being that this whole DNA situation just leaves some people with questions as to, okay, where'd you get the details? Did you get them from a place that you weren't supposed to? And in fact, if later on down the line we learn that you did obtain them from somewhere that you shouldn't have, and maybe you found Brian Koberger's own DNA, for instance, on a site that he had ticked for his information not to be shared. Where does that go in terms of his rights? Now, we have pondered over this. We have heard that other outlets have spoken about, is that rarely, because he's accused of this heinous crime, do specific rights fall into place here? And yes, they do. They do, regardless of anything, especially when you've been accused of something, but you're not proven to have done anything. You do have specific rights, and your privacy is a massive, massive no-go. You've seen the stuff that have happened over the years in regards to privacy concerns. But who did the testing? We know that originally the samples were sent to the officer's lab, the police lab, and it didn't pick up anything because there was nothing on CODIS, because Brian Koberger's details, or the details of that strain, whatever that they had, it couldn't pick anything up. That will only pick up people who have had their DNA taken from them and uploaded onto that database, and that was a miss. we also do have to factor in the fact that there's a potential. It's not 100% guaranteed, because there could be coatings, there could be things that would inhibit degradation of DNA on the buckle if there was like an acrylic paint, for instance. Who knows? But we do know, and there are vast studies out there that say that there is degradation of DNA when DNA is left upon brass, and the button snap on a proper K-bar leather knife sheath is brass. Again, I just can't find whether there is a potential for there to be some kind of coating, some kind of acrylic, or something on there that would alter that. But in terms of if that is fresh brass, then there is degradation, and that does happen quite rapidly as the elements of the brass react with the elements of the DNA that's on there. So this is a process that's got to be done quickly, timely, and efficiently and effectively. And every time that DNA is tested, it further degrades. You can test it, but then you're left with less of a sample. But it would appear that somewhere along the line, this Othram Labs were brought into the mix, and they were the company that was chosen to help with this. And who are Othram Labs? What have they done in the past? I've not heard of them before. Have you heard of them before? Let me know down below in the comments if you had heard of the Othram Labs prior to this case. Now, looking back into the history of Othram Labs, it would seem that a true crime fan had done some funding, had actually funded some of this Othram Labs stuff. But let's have a look into Othram Labs themselves and look at the cases that they have done. And seems as they are good at putting the cases up onto their website and saying, this is what we've helped with, do you think Brian Koberger will be there? Will his face be in there? Will they be able to say and list on there, look what we did? We was able to, from a sample that was given by Moscow Police Department or the FBI, we was able to track down a quadruple murderer. And let's have a look, shall we? Da-da, you're going to love this. So this is Othram Labs. Othram Labs. Kinsnip Priority Service for Rapid Relationship Testing. So what they are doing, they're promoting the fact that they can do things quick. We know this was done relatively quickly. So this is developed by Othram themselves. So they have trademarked this. This is their own system. Allows investigators to infer kinship in closely and distantly related individual, combining the speed of traditional forensics STR testing with the power of advanced SMP testing. So, sounds almost too good to be true. Evidently advanced. It just tells you a little bit about how it works. The entire process is performed in-house laboratory to analysis without accessing online genealogical databases or tools, maximizing privacy and security. So this section here is interesting because the issue that we have, let me just come back and say hello. The issue that we have with this, if I click the right button, is that we feel that there's a potential that the DNA was obtained from somewhere that it shouldn't have been obtained from, and was rights violated, was the law broken. But Othram themselves are saying that they are given samples. They don't go to anybody. It's all done in-house to protect privacy, to protect, the rights of individuals. So let's see about that, shall we? And these, some recent casework, right? Hold on, I'm going to go up to this one, actually, casework here. Recent casework. So Brian Koberger, for argument, I will tell you now, he's not on there. Brian Koberger ain't on there. So they haven't named themselves as being involved in that yet. But when you go through some of these cases, the vast majority of these are where there has been remains of people, unidentified remains. That seems to be their speciality. So get off of that screen. That seems to be their speciality when a skeleton is found, when a skull is found, something like that, when there are remains found. There's not many cases that they've been involved in, like all of these that we're now scanning for. These are all remains. So it seems to be that they they specialize in working with the remains of individuals who are unidentified. With respect of helping the police through being given a specific sample of DNA and going through the process, that doesn't seem to be something that there's much of in their database. There was one I could find. Like here, you've got the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. 1993, a murdered woman was discovered in Nevada. She could not be identified, and she became known as Jane Tropicana Doe. 2023, forensic evidence was submitted to Othram, where scientists successfully developed a comprehensive DNA profile of the woman using forensic-grade genomes. So again, I believe that this is, again, to do with extracting a sample of DNA from the individual themselves. This isn't about being given something from the police, for instance. But then we've got that. This is the one. Pennsylvania State Police. In 1997, an unknown subject sexually assaulted 2 children in Pennsylvania. Attempts to identify him were unsuccessful. 2022, forensic evidence was submitted to Othram, where scientists developed a suitable DNA extract from the forensic evidence and used forensic-grade genome sequencing to build a profile for the suspect. Othram's in-house forensic genetic genealogy team used the profile in a genealogical search to produce investigative leads. These leads were returned to investigators. A follow-up investigation was conducted and led to the suspect's arrest. So it's a bizarre one, isn't it? Because it seems like there's a lot of cases. One thing I will say is there's a lot of cases, like loads and loads and loads, but the vast majority of these cases have been, like, again, working on remains, but they do work with the police. They've done some, not a great deal, but they've put the name to them. They've listed them on there that they've worked with them. But I find it very interesting that Othram haven't come out and stated that they've been involved in this, and no one will really clarify that they were indeed the people who were involved in dealing with the DNA of Brian Kohberger. But there was a clip I was reading, I think it was on Get a Clues channel, if I remember rightly, and there was someone from Othram who was talking about how long generally it takes to do these, the sequencing and build the tree, and they were talking about a long period of time. This isn't something that can be done over a matter of days. This is over a matter of months. So how did they do this all so quickly, like so rapidly? Again, you can't help but feel that someone was on a clock here. This was about doing things quickly. So my question to you, and what I want you to put down in the comments, I nearly said downstairs again, and that is, do you feel that this entire case was indeed reverse engineered? Was there a tip-off, and did they have to fill in some blanks? And were they just able to get hold of Othram and get Othram to give them what they needed to do? Who knows? Who knows? It's the entire DNA situation to me seems like a massive, massive problem in this case, and it could, in my opinion, be the one thing that allows Brian Kohberger to walk. And the scary thing is he could be guilty, and because the procedures weren't followed and things were done not by the book, a guilty guy could walk. Let me know down below. Othram Labs. Who are Othram Labs? Go over to Jewels of All Trades. There's some more interesting stuff about Othram Labs and their addresses. Kind of a follow-on. We'll catch you all in the next one. You amazing, amazing people. I think my phone's ringing. Have a fantastic day.